Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Want to remind you about our friends at Kenny J's Barbecue. They will cater your work parties, luncheons, weddings, family get-togethers, and holiday parties. New catering clients get 10% off their first order at Kenny J's. We're going to tap into the RSL press conference with Steve Starks coming up here momentarily, Ben. We are not sure exactly what they're announcing. They did, of course, just get eliminated from the playoffs and head into the off season. So it'll be interesting to see which direction they're going.
Yeah, they bought the team, not at a weird time, but they bought the team. They had a season to kind of watch what was going on. I know there were some people that were frustrated early in the year that they didn't spend more money to be more aggressive. They ended up making the playoffs. Now everybody makes the playoffs in MLS. So we will see which direction they go now this offseason. But traditionally, the Millers have been good owners with their sports teams. So I'll be curious to see what type of moves they make. And yeah, you buy a team, you rearrange it to put it in a spot where you're comfortable operating it. So we'll see what those are today. I
definitely agree with that opinion that the Millers have been good owners. I think, I'm trying to think of, there are several reasons that is, but I think one of the main ones, I suppose, is they hire smart people and they empower them.
Yeah.
They're good at that. And they've been good at that since, of course, Larry bought the Jazz back in the 80s. So I would guess that they're going to use the same template with RSL, and that's probably good news. But spending money in sports, more and more, Ben, I've discovered is so about timing. It's not just spending. It's about who you spend on and at what point do you spend it. You know, the Knicks have spent money for 25 years.
Uh-huh.
Basically, since the lockout in the late 90s, they've just outspent pretty much everybody. They've never done anything. And I know you think they're title bound. We did the predictions segment last week, and Ben said fire up the parade down Broadway.
Sure. Wall Street.
But I mean, how much money have they wasted on just rosters that did nothing? You know, it's all about timing and what you do. All right. Let's get to the RSL press conference. Jason Kreis currently speaking.
Steve Starks, Michelle Smith, and last but certainly not least, John Kimball. John has been my staunchest supporter these past couple of years, and he was easily the biggest proponent and driver to bring me back to my beloved club here in Utah. Thank you, John, and happy birthday. There are two things that I'd like to open up with that many of you may or may not know about me. Number one is that I don't like to talk, and I certainly don't love to talk in a public setting like this. Allow me to be comfortable with you all for a bit. An emotional, passionate guy who says what he means and means what he says. So please also allow me to get emotional with you. My wife is here today, and I would be sorely remiss if I didn't mention how grateful I am of her and her support through what has been a very long, challenging, stressful, but meaningful career in this game so far. She is my rock. She is our family's backbone. And without her, there is zero chance I would be standing here today. Thank you, Kimberly. I think it's interesting that Steve Starks mentions the learnings. Through my time in this game, I've had my share of what most people would consider failures. I was the first player ever signed at Real Salt Lake a long time ago. And in those first few years, we lost a lot. Then I was the head coach here for 7 years. In that time, we experienced a lot of success. And I left here in 2014 at the top of the coaching echelon. I then went away for 10 years. And truthfully, I did not have a ton of success. But through all of that, I experienced and learned a lot. I worked in Manchester, England, New York City, Orlando, and Miami, Florida. Players. I worked with a world super club. I helped to start a youth academy from scratch. I coached a second team. I was a U.S. Olympic team head coach. I was a U.S. national team assistant coach. And finally, I worked as an MLS assistant coach. Through all those challenges and all the ups and downs, I came to realize three very critical things that all of us should continually consider and ask ourselves. The first question that we should ask ourselves is, are you happy with what you do? Or do you feel fulfilled by what you do? The answer for me just 2 short years ago was a resounding no. The second question is, are you happy with where you are? And through all those places that I dragged my family to, all those moves, I realized I wasn't happy where I was. It dawned on me then that Salt Lake is where I should be. Salt Lake is where I had a tremendous amount of success, and Salt Lake is where I felt appreciated. Salt Lake is where we raised our children. Salt Lake is our home. We belong here. I want you to hear me say that again, because it is obviously a very simple phrase, but I think it has deep emotional complexity underneath. We belong here. And the third question, and arguably the most important one, is who do you surround yourself with? Who do you work with? What is clear to me now more so than ever before is that this city, this community, this ownership group, this group, and these soccer staffs that are assembled in our clubs are full of high quality, high character people. I believe so strongly that we are surrounded by and led by so many wonderful people here. And I am someone that believes this is the most critical part to everything we do, whether that's building a department, building a coaching staff, or building our teams. People and character matter. For the first time since perhaps 2013 when I left this great place, I am just so happy to be able to answer all three of these critical questions with a resounding yes. Seeing what we now have here at Zion Bank Training Center, taking an active role in the Utah Royals rebirth this summer, fully aligning, understanding, and influencing what our academy and Monarchs are producing, and potentially learning best practices from 40 years of Miller operations in our community, as well as the potential learnings from the Blitzer clubs in Europe, my adrenaline and excitement are surging at the thought of how I can apply what I've experienced and what I've learned to our club leaders, our sporting directors, our coaches, our staff members, and our players to consistently and relentlessly pursue championships. There is one more lesson. I guess at being 50 years old, you start to think you have life lessons. There's one more life lesson I'd like to share with everyone here as I close up. And it was actually the main point of focus I tried my best to impart to the Royals staff and players this past summer. There are really only two things in our lives which we have absolute and sole control of: our attitude and our work rate. I can make everyone here two solemn promises. Number one, I will approach every day with a positive, competitive, and collaborative attitude. And number two, I will put absolutely everything I have into this project. Nobody will work harder or be more committed to this than me. The best is yet to come. And as my favorite Latin phrase states, audentis fortuna juvat. For those of you that didn't take Latin in high school, that means fortune favors the bold. And I do plan to be bold. Thank you.
All right, this is a press conference. RSL and the Miller family announcing Jason Kreis has been named the club's president of soccer operations. We'll return now to the press conference.
Thank you, and congratulations, Jason. I'd like to take this opportunity to just express how honored and excited for the continued opportunities that we have to dive into the soccer world and to be welcomed so warmly into the RSL club. I'd also like to thank everybody for the opportunity to work with RSL and the Royals and the families here who have welcomed us so warmly, and for the amazingly loyal fans who show up to support the Claret and Cobalt. It has become even more obvious to us that RSL and the Royals have an incredibly passionate fan base, one for which we are very grateful. Our first few months have already become a signature moment for our family. RSL Club's values align closely with our families and the entire Larry H. Miller organization's values and the way we think about and approach professional sports. I echo everything that has been said about Jason. He is a phenomenal connector amongst the coaches and the players, the front office, the business sides of our operations, with the fans in the community, across all aspects of the club. Jason is deeply in tune with the roots of this club, from our old friend Dave Checketts, the founder of RSL, to everyone who roams the halls in both Sandy and Harriman today. Our goal for all of our teams is to win trophies. It is apparent that Jason is the executive to lead our club to accomplish that goal. Jason, we are grateful for you and everyone in the RSL Royal and the Royals families. After the Royals wrap up their season this weekend, we are excited to have a great off-season and to build from there, and Jason will be the one to lead us to do that. Thank you very much.
All right, that was Steve Miller, of course, of the Miller family, and we heard from Jason Kreis before that. Steve Starks actually was at the podium before making the announcement that, yes, Jason Kreis will take over as the club's president of soccer operations. Basically, he's going to be over all of it, from Major League Soccer to the Royals in NWS, as well as the Monarchs and the RSL Academy.
A guy who has real, obviously, deep ties, was here when RSL launched in 2007. Had a ton of success with the club as well. Well, I guess he played with the club when they launched and then became the manager, right?
He did. That is correct. He was like the first star of RSL. He was like the vet. He was Major League Soccer's all-time leading goal scorer at the time. He was like the guy you put on the poster to first introduce the team. You know what I mean? So he and Eddie Pope.
He's got the culture running through his veins. So bringing him back is a little bit of that. You know, we talked about Darren Williams coming back, and this is a different level because he was a coach and et cetera. But yeah, it's not tying up a loose end, but bringing somebody back, I think, to put the Millers in a spot where they're comfortable, have some familiar faces.
Well, and he is a soccer guy, and as he mentioned there, he has had many different experiences, which I'm sure are applicable to overseeing really what's a lot. And just kind of reading this off, it's amazing the soccer culture that they've built over there. And you heard him give credit from, to everybody, going back to Dave Checketts. And yeah, well, it's a pretty remarkable thing. So that's cool. Good for Jason Kreis.
And still only 52 years old. So not, you talk about how he played and coached a while ago. That was almost 20 years ago now. Still a very, very young person. So
Dunny also on that team?
Yep. Playing up at Rice Eccles.
Oh, yeah, right on that dreadful turf.
Yep.
I remember it well.
Yep.
All right, stay tuned. We'll have more Jake and Ben coming up next. 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.